Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Behind the Brand podcast. My name is Curtis, and we're recording this right here at Studio 23, where you can have your own podcast recorded just like this. But we're here for the Behind the Brand podcast, and we have a fantastic new guest that I'm looking forward to finding out and digging a wee bit more deeper into what you do. So just in front of me here, I have Tim from Hills, Chills and Therapies. I love that name. Really, really nice. Very unique.
Thanks
How you
very
doing?
much. Yeah, good, thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks, Curtis.
No, listen, thanks so very much for coming along, especially because obviously I know you live a wee bit further out, obviously what the studio is, but you tend to do a lot of work around the kind of surrounding areas and things around here, so it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and again, just thanks very much for coming.
No problem at all.
We want to find out about your business, Tim. Do you want to give us a wee introduction of what kind of happens and who are you and what do you do?
Sure, thanks very much. Nice introduction. Tim Arbuckle. I'm coming up for 51 years old. So Hills, Chills and Therapies has been around for 4 to 5 years. I have a day job. I work in the public service. I've been in that for about 20 years, but as you do when you're in other jobs, you have peaks and troughs. And when maybe about 5 years ago, I was in a bit of a trough with that career, and a few chance happenings, 3 chance happenings occurred, which led on to hypnotherapy. I was actually collecting my wife from one of our nights out in town, and one of her colleagues said to me, having heard my voice, that you've got a good voice for hypnotherapy. And I was like, well, that's strange. And at that time, I didn't even know what hypnotherapy was, and I didn't think too much of it. And then cue to another night out a few months later, and 2 other friends, independently of each other, said similar words to me, and I was like, first time it's like a one-off. Second and third time, I was like, that's not just a coincidence, and they weren't put up to it. So I was like, I'm going to look more into it. So I researched it, and I was curious, and I saw that there was a course taken by the Harvest Clinic in Charing Cross in Glasgow. So I looked into it as a 4-weekend course, a certificate in stress management and hypnotherapy. So I signed up for it in 2018, did the course, and it absolutely blew my mind. So I did the course, met lots of amazing people over the summer of 2018, and loved it so much. I was like, this is something I want to do. I want to delve a bit deeper.
Wow.
So I signed up for a diploma the year after, which is a very in-depth diploma. There are various people that offer teaching and for people to learn hypnotherapy. This is a top-notch training. So it's originated from the London School of Clinical Hypnosis, and it's a 10-weekend course over 10 months of the year with a lot of in-depth learning. There's peer work with your peers. There was not a dissertation, but like a case study, 3,000-word case study, a lot of tutorials, and really in-depth work with practical work involved over these 10 weekends. And I did that, and obviously you look into various different hypnosis and hypnotherapy techniques, and it absolutely blew my mind, and I was like, this is something I want to do. So straight after that, I got my insurance, liability insurance, and I set up Hills, Chills and Therapies, and started in proper just in spring 2020.
Wow.
Which is obviously, probably not a good time to be starting a business because of the pandemic.
To be fair, it seems like the common theme with everything that's going on. I think lockdown and things like that definitely, obviously you had the plan in place before lockdown unfortunately happened. But no, I think everybody's the exact same with like lockdown, starting up businesses. Like there seems to be a real common theme here. Do you think people were starting to realise that there was more to life than what they were doing before, maybe?
I think maybe people got to the nitty gritty of, are they happy in life, are they contented in life, and they look a wee bit deeper into themselves. Yeah. Exactly what I did. And I've got this really burning desire to make it big with this hypnotherapy. I absolutely love it. I'm extremely passionate about it. If I've got any spare time during the day, I'm reading research papers, watching hypnosis stuff on YouTube. There's content over there, out there from all over the world, styles of hypnosis and stuff like that. So I'm always learning about it, and I'm determined to make the most of it, and I want to make it into my living, my day operation, and make my company really go for it.
That's class. It's class to think that it's something that just listening, like you had no idea about it, and then somebody just happens to say, oh, by the way, you've got a nice voice for that.
it was a chance happening.
Like, do you take that as a bit of a cheek at the time? Obviously not now, because you're like, I love it. And you know what I mean? That's nice that you've obviously found a passion for it as well. But just that then somebody else says the exact same thing, you're a bit like, hold on, I've been stitched up here. Like,
well, potentially. I did. There's a part of me that thought that, but at the same time, I was like, do you know what? Like I said, I was going through a bit of a trough in my other career, and I was like, do you know what? Things happen for a reason.
Massively.
What's meant for you won't go by you. So I was like, well, maybe this is a sign for me that this is what I should do. And like I said, when I did the first course and in my time on the diploma, it absolutely blew my mind. And I'm just so passionate about it. I've had one of the things that I work with is anxiety and panic attacks. And I actually had panic attacks myself before years ago. Okay. I used to work in London a long time ago. I worked in London from mid-90s for about 7 years. I worked for Lloyd's of London in an insurance business.
Oh, wow.
I had I was a chartered insurer as well. I had all my professional insurance exams, but a lot of the stress of London living, like hard living, hard playing as well.
How anybody manages to live in London these days, it's way beyond me.
Yeah. So it's good fun for partying, but at the same time, you need to look after yourself.
Bonuses and cons.
So the downside was, I guess, the stress and too much partying, which I think, looking back in hindsight, brought on the panic attacks. At that time, I didn't know about hypnotherapy. It wasn't hypnotherapy, I'll be honest, that got me out of the panic attacks. I had a very understanding person with me at the time. But I know now that if a client comes to me, or a potential client comes to me, that I can use my skills to help improve this person's quality of life. So it's a major bonus in it. From working with some clients and to see the impact I have on them directly, it's so rewarding, so satisfying to see them coming in with an issue, whether that be for anxiety in its various forms, like compulsive disorders or weight control or smoking or addictions. They come to me and then I can make a one-to-one direct impact in their life, and they skip out the door, and it just makes me feel really good.
I can imagine. Obviously, like, you're helping somebody better themselves, better their life as well. That they're having severe anxiety and stress about it. So to go then help them and have them at the polar opposite end of the scale. That must be amazing.
It's brilliant. It's just so rewarding, because sometimes you don't get that in other jobs. The chance that you have to have that impact is sometimes diluted. And I know if I do my best that I can do for that person, I'm directly responsible for being the catalyst to help them change through the hypnotherapy and the various the knowledge and experience I've got in that field. I can help them with their issue and move them on.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Just a couple of wee bits that you were kind of touching on that I'd love to obviously find out a wee bit more about. Could you even just let me know, or let obviously the listeners and things like that know, just even explain what hypnosis actually is? Because I know people probably get their own ideas of what it actually is. So just even talk about it, if that's all right.
Sure, it's quite a common question, and if you say hypnosis to someone, a lot of people have their instant kind of go-to is probably stage hypnosis.
Yeah. That's what would pop in my head.
Sure, and it's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but hypnosis in terms of relaxation and in the therapy environment is completely different to that. What hypnosis is, there's various schools or theories of hypnosis, but essentially what hypnosis is, it's a focused state where you're focusing your attention on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. So if you're doing something that you enjoy, whether that be sitting in a podcasting studio and you're just completely absorbed in that environment, that is a form of hypnosis. Right, so all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So people can help you get put into hypnosis. However, essentially you have to let it happen to you. There are other forms of hypnosis, like highway hypnosis. So if you're driving in your car and it's maybe raining heavily, the windscreen wipers are on, switched backwards and forwards, that can be like a trance. That's another form of hypnosis.
Oh God. No, you're driving. Oh God. I'll be panicking now.
Another one that's quite common when you're trying to explain is TV hypnosis. So if you're watching a good film or something you're totally engrossed in, you're watching that, your attention is completely focused on that, almost to the complete exclusion of everything else. So if someone walks into the room, you'll be aware of them kind of in the background, but it doesn't affect your concentration because you're that absorbed in what's happening. So in the therapy environment, essentially that's what hypnosis is, and obviously in the therapy environment, it's slightly different as well as to what we use the hypnotic state for. So that's a short,
there you go.
hopefully a short definition of.
It's one of those ones where I'm like, well, if I'm watching the telly now and if Rebecca happens to try and annoy me, I'll be like, sorry, I was in a state of hypnosis there. Obviously, you talk a lot about hypnotherapy as well. Could you even give me a wee rundown on the listener, sorry, what hypnotherapy is? Because that's something I probably don't have any clue what it is. Okay, so hypnotherapy is it's a talking therapy whereby we use hypnosis to, now when people come for the issues that I've got on my business card there, so this can be anxiety, weight control, smoking, vaping, things like stammering, confidence, public speaking, things like that kind of have a mental aspect to them. Once we get someone, or once I get someone into essentially a hypnotic state is a deeply relaxed state. So when you're watching that movie and you're totally absorbed in it, you become more relaxed, your body's kind of sinking down into the couch, usually. Yep. Not always, but usually. Lying down.
And the therapy part is when essentially I give positive suggestions relating to that presenting issue. So if someone's coming to me for weight control, in the very first session, I'll take a case study from them. It's like a pre-talk. And I'll ask them loads of questions about that. So how long have you had a weight issue for? When did it first start? Is there times that it's better? Is there times that it's worse? Any other little habits they've got? And the way that hypnotherapy works is that I agree kind of strategies with them for maybe kind of little goals for them to aim for. So maybe someone might be eating too many takeaways a week, and I'll speak with them and I'll agree a goal with them. I try and make sure that all their goals that they want are smart goals, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and sort of time orientated. So they might say, right, okay, in the next 5 weeks, I usually see people over a course of 3 sessions. Sometimes it could be more, over like a 5-week period. And we agree smaller goals within that. And the way that hypnotherapy works is that when a person is deeply relaxed or in a kind of state of hypnosis, and I present positive suggestions relating to that, in that going forward, as from this day forward, I'm going to limit myself to 2 takeaways per week compared to before what I used to have. The body and the mind is much more agreeable to that suggestion when the person is in a state of hypnosis compared to when they're not. So that's essentially how hypnosis works and hypnotherapy is used in a therapeutic environment. So first of all, I would take a case study with a person and get all the details, work with them what their goals are to be in terms of an overall goal, like I want to lose 8 pounds in 5 weeks, which is a realistic goal potentially. Trying to lose no more than maybe 2 pounds per week. And then within that I've got smaller strategies, like I might agree with the client that they're going to limit themselves to 2 takeaways per week instead of 4, that they're going to take a water bottle with them into their work and drink that litre of water throughout the day. So that's two strategies, and I'll tell that to them in the second part of the session when we actually do the therapy. So that's essentially how hypnotherapy works, giving someone goals. And the way that we work in hypnotherapy, it does sound I'm making it a bit more complicated than normal, but we use sort of guided imagery and metaphors. So for yourself, if you're looking to expand your podcasting business, I would say, right, okay, who do you see yourself being in a year's time? And you'll say, right, okay, I want to be in bigger premises, I want to have X number of clients per week. And I'll say, right, okay, so how do you envisage yourself getting there? And you might say, right, okay, I'm going to advertise, I'm going to other sort of miniature achievable goals along the way. And I would do the hypnosis, I'd relax you into a relaxed state, and then perhaps say to yourself, right, I want to imagine yourself in a director's house. There's this house, a director's house, and you can go in there and there's controls that you can go sit behind, and you can view yourself on television achieving these goals in a year's time. So it's like visualization. I want to see what I look like in a year's time when I achieve these goals. How do I look? Okay, I look confident, I look satisfied. So you're kind of helping the client imagine this and guiding them with this imagery in a year's time. And as you say, what you practice you become. So it's very powerful. And I give clients homework as well.
Right, okay. One of the things I was going to ask was how would, so like that, I'm just so deeply like, you've got me in a pure trance here. I'm just listening. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And like, I feel like I'm just like, wow, just watching everything going on around me. And like, and I'm envisioning everything that you're saying. Mm-hmm. But I was going to ask, like, so I am quite forgetful myself, and I'll happily admit that. So how would, like, do I have to write anything down? Do you provide paperwork? But it sounds like you obviously give homework, so I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, I keep it dead simple for clients. So in the first session is usually a bit longer, maybe about an hour and a half. Like I said, the first half of that sometimes is the case studies. So taking me asking lots of questions of the issue, and then the second time agreeing on the goal for yourself for the length of time that you're working with me. Like I say, it's usually 3 sessions. Sometimes it's less if the client doesn't need it. Sometimes it's longer if there's a bigger issue that we're working towards. I try and keep the kind of strategy of how I'm working with clients quite simple, so that in the first session I'll run through a technique with them when they're in therapy. I kind of bring them back round so they'll be in a relaxed state, so kind of waking them up, bring them to, and I'll remind them, okay, so we did this technique where we talked down we imagined ourselves going down a set of stairs. Every step we go down, we get more and more relaxed, and then all you have to do is visualise yourself as you're achieving your goal. And I want you to, in the first part of the session, I maybe get you to tell me who your 5 most significant people in your life are, and I want you to tell me how they react to you when you're achieving your goal. So when you're doing your practice, you go down into your place of relaxation, down the steps, and you visualise how you feel when you achieve your goal. Also how these other people are reacting as you're achieving your goal, and I go through each of your senses. So it's quite simple, really, just visualising how people will react when you achieve your goal, and how you yourself will react when you achieve your goal. And by doing that, you're effectively rehearsing what you achieving your goal, which makes it much more likely that you will achieve it. And in terms of practice, I tell people it's like a new hobby or a new skill. And I tell people you need to rehearse it a bit. If you don't rehearse any new skill or hobby, then you won't achieve your goal. So therefore, practice it maybe 10 minutes twice a day, mind exercises, and then that makes it the goal achievement more likely.
That's amazing. It's just I'm listening to you and I'm like, you've got such a nice voice. Like, do you have clients that just happen to fall asleep? Like, you're just so calming and so peaceful. I'm just like, surely enough, somebody must fall asleep when they're speaking to you.
People do.
Not in a bad way. Please don't think I'm meaning it in a bad way. I'm just meaning because you're so peaceful and calming. Like, if I was stressed out and I was like, I really need something to calm me down, you'd be the man I'd come to now. I'd be like, you just have that nice calming presence around. Like, I'm just sitting here like, I don't even feel like this is my podcast. I feel like this is your podcast, and I feel like it's like an audiobook, and I'm just enjoying the ride. Like, I'm just like, this is just absolutely delightful to listen to.
I think what's amazing for me is that people only use a fraction of their mind capacity. So essentially the mind is split between your conscious mind, which is what you're deliberately doing. So if I lift this glass, I'm consciously aware that I'm doing that. The unconscious thing is where a lot of bad habits are stored. So when I'm doing hypnotherapy, people do fall asleep, but the client's unconscious mind is always listening, you know. So if you're lying in bed at night, your unconscious mind is like your primitive brain, and back in primitive days, and nowadays, that part of the brain is used to keep people safe. So if you hear noises outside, you'll be aware that your first thing is to keep you safe. You know, if there's back in primitive days, there might be animals around, but the first kind of human instinct is to keep your own person safe, your own body safe. So after that, it's the conscious mind, which is the kind of the 5% at the very top. So what hypnotherapy does is it basically delves into the deeper unconscious part of your brain where bad habits are stored. And what we do through hypnotherapy is to try and take out the bad habits and put in better, healthier habits relating to whatever the issue is. So if it's weight, we'll take out overeating too many biscuits with your cup of tea or coffee and put in...
I feel like you've just looked right into my soul there. I think I had about 3 biscuits today with my tea and work.
So go back and answer your question if I didn't maybe answer it fully, but sometimes clients do fall asleep to they get very relaxed, or they can get very relaxed.
Oh, you've got such a nice presence. Like the way you speak and everything. It's very calming and very relaxing.
Thanks.
I'm really big into like ASMR and stuff like that. Recently, I had one of my clients interviewed an ASMRist, or I don't know what you would call them, but I don't know. Are you aware of ASMR?
Not
No, it's all definitely research it. There's different types of ASMR as well. There's all about like sound and touch and things like that as well.
Oh, in terms of which sense is more dominant.
And it could just be somebody just literally speaking into a mic and dead soft voice and things like that. And that's the sort of things that what people will listen to put them to sleep.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh, it's so nice and calming. So I feel like I'm getting a live experience right at the moment.
You are a live hypnotic experience. So in terms of therapy, people usually have like a dominant modality in terms of their senses.
Yep.
If you're into podcasting and singing, they're both kind of voice or auditory related. So it suggests to me that you're auditory dominant.
Oh, majorly, 100%. It's something that I focus on.
Whereas someone like me, I'm probably visually dominant, and I need to read something, or sometimes I'm a bit sort of kinesthetic in that I need to do something and repeat that behaviour to kind of learn. I'm a learning by doing, essentially. If I read it, I won't take it in. Whereas if I learn by doing, then whereas other people maybe have a combination of modalities that are equally dominant. So essentially, when I'm talking to a client, I'm kind of looking at them, and a part of the pre-talk is for me to judge. You know, where am I going with this? So if I say to yourself, so when you're achieving your goal, how do you sound to yourself? You might tell me, I feel confident, I feel upbeat. You know, we're sort of auditory related. Whereas if I was a client that was visually dominant sense, then I would maybe say to them, so where do you see yourself?
Okay.
So you're kind of using their dominant sense, assessing what their dominant sense is, and using that to kind of focus in on their learning and their learning style.
It's mental. I would definitely feel like I would like to book in and get a wee session.
Absolutely, we can do that.
It just sounds something that I love trying new things, and I feel like this is something that's perfect to try. Especially like I'm just looking at a list of obviously your kind of I don't know if you would call them services or your specialities and things like that. So like there's definitely something in here that I feel like would be valuable to at least everyone, definitely. Do you want to even, I know you touched on a couple with anxiety and stress and things like that. Do you want to even run through a couple of sort of things that you do happen to specialise in? Like, please don't feel that you can't take your business card and read that if you need it. You probably know off the top of your head, but it's just when I'm looking at it here, I'm like, that's a lot of stuff that you do happen to specialise in. Like,
so that's basically everything that I do. The majority of clients that come to see me tend to be for anxiety, because I've had panic attacks in the past. That's something that I'm particularly passionate about, and that I have, I can empathise with people because I have had that before myself. So I know what it's like. I know exactly what the feeling's like. It's absolutely terrifying. You feel like you're having a heart attack essentially. And if I'm sitting here telling you that today, people may think, you're not having a heart attack, but you actually do at the time think you're having a heart attack.
Of course,
it's absolutely frightening. So probably the most clients that I see are anxiety and weight related. Stress was a big one in the pandemic as well. Smoking, there's a handful of smokers, and then occasionally I'll see clients with other issues as well. My first client was a woman that was looking to pass her driving test, and get quite a few inquiries, particularly about that, around people have had accidents, unfortunately, and they lose confidence, or people that are new drivers and maybe the experience just overawes them a bit, or they're scared about going on motorways or a certain type of road, stuff like that. But just to regain confidence, and what I can do with them is I can help them access a resource state from past, doesn't necessarily need to be driving when they felt confident driving, but if they felt confident at a particular other stage in their life, I can help them go back to that state, imagine themselves and fully immerse themselves in that state, and then what we do is we link it to the driving issue, so it pulls across the confidence and builds up their confidence for getting back out on the roads. So it's like an anchor. It's called an anchor essentially. But
just some of the stuff, like, and I feel like it's so fitting, especially now, like, smoking and vaping, which is such a big thing, how people kind of get off that, and a lot of people try so much thing. They try the patches, they try all that sort of stuff, especially vaping as well, because I feel like a lot of young kids are doing it at the minute, which is absolutely,
I think it's quite
not
scary.
It's very scary, and they obviously don't realise the repercussions that are going to come with this in the future. I mean, you have to look at some examples. I mean, they go around laughing that it's called like popcorn lung and stuff like that. I'm like, it's not funny when you're dead at 21 or 20, you know what I mean, or 18. I mean, if you get to that age, like, it's not funny.
You know, history teaches us things. You know, if you look back in the 50s and 60s, there was adverts and the media was telling us that smoking was glamorous. And I don't.
Same class
you can draw
like
a parallel from that with vaping, and that
just because it tastes good doesn't mean it is good. Like, because you can smell a bit of strawberry, I'm just like, that really gets on my gripes. But I'm like, there's probably families and stuff that probably know that their kids do this, and they're like, how am I going to do it? Like, how am I going to get them off that? Because I mean, you can tell them don't do it. I mean, they're still not going to listen. They're a kid at the end of the day.
The other thing is it's a habit as well.
It's a habit as well. They'll need to itch. And I'm like, you've got a hypnotherapy session there that you can dig a wee bit deeper into, obviously. And I'm like, that'd be perfect. Panic attacks and things like that is absolutely amazing. I mean, you've got insomnia and IBS as well, that people probably didn't think that kind of stuff would help for it. Like, that's...
IBS is a good one because I think it's something like 80% of the population, and particularly females, have or will have IBS in their lifetime. I think that's 15% of people in the UK will have IBS at any one time. So there's a huge market out there. And hypnotherapy is good. It's been recommended by the NICE. I'm going to tell you what NICE is. It's basically a medical authority in Great Britain.
Right,
the UK. Hypnotherapy has been recommended by NICE to be particularly good for treating symptoms of hypnotherapy. And the way that works, it works twofold in that, as you mentioned, my voice relaxes you. So primarily my voice will relax you. So that's one stage, effectively, how hypnotherapy works with stress and the kind of stress part of the IBS. However, we've got a thing called gut-directed hypnotherapy, whereby I'm telling you a story or a metaphor essentially about, so if someone's got IBS, it's not a nice thing to talk about, but it works both ways. Yep. You can either have too loose or too firm, or stomach problems. So if you want to visualize like a running river, the person can feel the effect of that directly on themselves. So occasionally I do have clients that will come to see me for one issue, whether that be weight, and they might say I have IBS, and they'll come and tell me actually the IBS has improved as a consequence as well.
I just think that's amazing. Like, it's not just physically, like, it's not physical things. It's, you know, I mean, it's health as well there. Like, just some of the stuff there. Like, and I highly recommend. Like, I mean, can I even just run through a couple, like what you have here, like stress, anxiety, weight control, smoking and vaping, pain management, panic attacks, public speaking, which is a great one.
Which one? Performance
as well, for those that are obviously get big performance and things coming up. Fears and phobias, insomnia, IBS, migraines. Now I will butcher this. Tinnitus, yes, right, you got it. I
do actually have tinnitus myself.
Blushing, I think I've got a touch of it, but I just never know how to pronounce it. I pronounce it tinnitus. But that's just me. Blushing, stammering, asthma and depression. I'm like, that's just absolutely amazing.
I'll tell you a fascinating...
There's probably more than that, to be fair, that
There's
you probably
lots.
do.
Anything that has basically a physiological effect on you, that hypnotherapy can lessen that effect. So essentially that's what hypnotherapy is. So if it's got a physiological effect on you, and I can do a wee very small demonstration on you.
Oh, fantastic.
So if I get you to imagine that maybe you're in Seville, okay? Have you ever been to Seville or Spain?
No. I've been to Spain, yeah.
Okay, so if you go to Seville, it's very famous for lemons, okay? So if you go to Seville and you're holding the most ripe lemon that you can imagine.
Right, okay.
Okay, so you're holding it and you're looking at it, and it's absolutely magnificently zesty yellow colour. Okay, you're feeling it in your hands, you're looking at it, it's beautifully ripe, and then you're looking at the shape of it and you're maybe imagining the taste of it or the texture of it, and in your other hand you've got a sharp knife, so you cut open this beautiful ripe lemon, and as you cut it open, you notice the kind of lemony zesty juice kind of bursting out, and you maybe get the kind of aroma, the zesty aroma hitting your nose.
Yep.
Are you noticing anything?
It's going to sound really bad, but I can picture like a San Pellegrino, like that kind of lemony smell just hitting the back of my, like the sourness of it, like the.
So essentially, what's happening there is through my voice, there's potentially some people get like either their mouth is watering or imagining.
Oh, my mouth's definitely like I'm like that as well. I'm like, oh my god.
So essentially, through my voice, it's having a physiological impact on what's happening in your body. Yeah. So if that can happen for a simple it's called the lemon test. If that can happen for that, then you can imagine what other uses it has for a lot of the presenting issues I've got there.
That's what I was meaning earlier. Like, as I say, I was in like a pure state of trance just watching and listening. But when you were talking about like how I see myself in a year's time, like I was picturing that as I was going, like something that I wouldn't necessarily think about unless obviously I asked otherwise and had a bit of deep meaning behind it and stuff like that. So it was nice actually to kind of sit there and actually think about like, where do I see myself in a year's time, and actually taking a step back to look at me as a person. You know,
so it's a really powerful tool to use if you can imagine yourself. The first stage is to decide what your SMART goal is to be. So that, like I say, it's part of that is a time orientated. So a year's time, imagine what your SMART goal is going to be. It's got to be realistic. It's got to be specific, achievable, and time orientated. And then you work out maybe a small number of stages how you might get to that goal, and then you do these kind of mind exercises, which is the same as my homework. If you do that twice a day, then you've got a much more bigger chance of obtaining that goal, achieving that goal.
That's amazing.
And it's a really powerful technique. A lot of people use it in the professional world as well. You know, athletes and politicians. If you see an athlete, if you're into athletics or you watch sport, if you're watching Usain Bolt in 100 meters, and first of all he'll be shutting his eyes and he'll be kind of doing this and wearing away in his head. He's probably had hypnosis or hypnotherapy, visualising winning the race and setting a world record, because he'll imagine that, and the more you imagine and you rehearse it, assuming you've got the skills and the practical side to carry that out.
Yeah, of course.
When you arrive there on race day, you're going to obtain exactly the result you practice.
Wow. It's mental to think that, and it probably is, to be fair. It's about obviously imagining your goals and put that, as you say, you obviously need the tools and things in place to obviously do that as well. Like I could sit and visualise winning a lottery here, but I never put a lottery ticket on, you know what I mean? So it's one of those ones.
One of the issues you mentioned was tinnitus.
Yes.
If I could just talk about that for a second.
Of course.
So the person that trained me was a woman who's been a psychotherapist for 30 years, Angela Trainor, and she's an inspirational woman, a huge influence on me. She actually did a TEDx talk a few years ago, and you can find it on YouTube. And she's written books about her career and stuff. She used to see hypnotherapy clients at the Harvest Clinic, and she told us the story one time. So if you have tinnitus, part of what you can do in hypnotherapy, or it's actually an NLP, a neuro-linguistic programming tool, is you can reframe that. So you can't actually get rid of the tinnitus, but you can reframe it so the person hears it differently, because tinnitus it's not an actual sound, it's what the brain thinks is there.
Yep.
So she told us about a client that she had, and she was able to help this person. They had a love of music. So what she did was she taught this person to imagine that when he had tinnitus, it was actually orchestra sounds. So from being a nuisance thing to him, after sessions with him, she was able to get him to imagine that it was, you know, like a more pleasant sound. So kind of reframing the issue.
It's amazing to think that, though, you know what I mean, to turning that into something else, but having that in your mind to continue that as well. I love my music as well, and I tend to find sometimes, like, as I say, I'm a singer, I've sang for donks years now, and I can just hear that every so often. It's just a constant wee thing with there, but it does disappear. But I don't know if my brain's just working it into something else, because I tend to find myself humming, and maybe I'll be...
Maybe that's your coping mechanism to...
And I'm like, maybe it's a wee bit of hypnotherapy going on in there. But as I say, that ASMR and stuff like that really, really helps me calm myself down as well. But yeah, I'd love to try a hypnotherapy session. I think that'd be absolutely amazing.
Definitely. The good thing about hypnotherapy is that traditionally it's been done in person, sort of face to face in a therapy environment.
Yeah, I was just literally, that was probably my next question. You might even want to answer that just now. Is obviously like your sessions, like where would you tend to hold yours, and obviously typically where would they be held?
Okay, so I live in Milton Campsie, and myself and my wife share a therapy room in our house, in our home, completely separate from the rest of the house. So the majority of my clients come there. I have a handful of people that I see virtually online, on Zoom, because it can be done via Zoom. I prefer it face to face. I think you get a better connection with someone seeing them face to face in the same building or the same room or whatever. But we can do it online. I have the offer to go to clients' houses as well. Obviously, brings a bit more of a difficulty in terms of getting there and stuff. But some people have, like phobias, anxieties about going out and stuff. So again, that's an option for people if they don't want to come to my house or my home for therapy.
That's brilliant.
These are the 3 options.
There you go. So you've got plenty of options there if you're listening. And the best part for me is where would we get in touch with you to find out about your services and to book in with you? Like, do you work just straightly from socials? Do you have a website? Do you have a booking form? Do you have an app? Do you have like a referral form? How do we go about and get in touch with you?
Okay, so hopefully you'll be nice and put a link onto your Instagram page from mine.
Of course.
Hypnotherapy Glasgow is an Instagram business page, and on that you'll find a link tree to my other socials. So I've got Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at the moment. There is a booking link on there where I've got like a scheduling, client scheduling and payment, online payment. Or you can just message me. My contact details are on there as well. You can either send me a text or give me a phone call. And what I do when people first get in touch is usually ask a bit about the issue, a couple of kind of screening questions. Unfortunately, there's some people that you can't do hypnotherapy with. If someone's got epilepsy or any sort of severe mental issues, psychiatric issues, then that would preclude them from me from working with them, just for safety reasons. I didn't even know that. It was good touch that you added that in, to be fair. I didn't even know that. Yeah. I didn't even thought of that. Yeah, so it's just kind of eye-related. You don't want to set off someone's epilepsy. Unfortunately, people have like bipolar disorder or stuff like that. I personally wouldn't choose to work with them. Other people might do, but that's my choice.
I would not, and that's it. It's your choice at the end of the day, in your business and how you run your business.
And I want to make sure that my clients are kept safe.
You want to keep safe, 100%, 100%. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Tim. We've literally come to the end of the time, and I've loved this. I'm just so relaxed. Honestly, you've made me feel so relaxed. As I say, it didn't even feel like my podcast. I felt like I was just here as your guest, where you were just telling me. Like, I was so
in the zone.
So nice. You ever thought about doing an audiobook or anything like that at all, or
the person that
your own podcast? I mean, come on.
The person that recommended you to me suggested that I should do my own podcast. So we'll see.
Honestly, you could do one yourself. It was so nice and relaxing. I mean, just a quick wee one. Do you have any plans for the future? Have you got anything in mind, like that you might not at the minute, but have you got anything at all that you're thinking towards maybe for the future?
Just looking to expand my business just now in terms of kind of word of mouth, growth of business in that way at the moment. In terms of further into the future, I don't know. Like I say, there's other ideas I've got, but nothing concrete at the moment. Who knows? Podcast one day, maybe.
There you go. House Chills and Therapies podcast.
Yep.
There you go. And you obviously had a good wee reason for why you called your name as well. Do you want to?
House Chills and Therapies, for people that are into music, it was after a Happy Mondays album from back in the day. People can do their own research onto that. But I live in the camps, in Milton Campsie, at the bottom of the Campsie Hills. One time I was pretty big into my fitness, and I was looking to have a kind of physical aspect to my therapy business as well. Unfortunately, as I turned 50, my body's not really kept up with that, so might diversify. But I do hypnotherapy. I also do cognitive behavioural therapy as well, which I've started offering to clients. I'm looking to expand the range of service that I do offer. Fantastic. That's absolutely amazing. So there you go, folks. That is where you get in touch now for your hypnotherapy, House Chills and Therapies, and that's with Tim. Thank you so much for coming on, Tim. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I feel like I needed this. I feel like I've totally zened and chilled out. You've got you just bring such a nice aura to this place, and it's so nice. I just feel so relaxed. And for those listening, either on YouTube or Spotify, if you guys have enjoyed this, then please feel free to like away,
leave a review, share it. Let's get Tim's name out there and get Tim's business out there as well, because I think it just benefits everyone. This, I think it really does. I mean, I went through obviously the services and things like that. The kind of thing that Tim specialises in. So you've got every opportunity there to get your hypnotherapy journey started. And Tim's your man, 100%. Thank you so much for coming on, Tim.
Thanks so much, Curtis. Good to be here.
And we will see you again in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.